What is the world like in dreams? There is a moment each night when we silently cross a threshold, one that separates the waking world from a reality entirely our own. Our eyes close, our bodies rest, and suddenly we find ourselves somewhere else. The sky might be green, buildings might float, and time might twist like a ribbon in the wind. In this strange, ethereal realm, we experience things that defy all laws of physics and common sense. Yet, somehow it all feels real. We laugh, cry, run, fall, and awaken with a heart that races or a soul that feels inexplicably moved. This is the world of dreams, a landscape as familiar as it is mysterious. But have you ever paused to ask, what is the world like in dreams? How does it function? Why does it often feel so vivid, even more intense than our daily lives? And why do things that make no sense in waking reality feel completely normal in the dreamscape? Dreams have fascinated humankind for thousands of years. Ancient cultures believed they were messages from the gods, visions of the future, or journeys of the soul beyond the body. Modern science tells us that dreams are tied to memory processing, emotional healing, and cognitive activity during REM sleep. But even with all our technological advancements, dreams remain one of the great enigmas of the human experience. One of the most intriguing aspects of dreams is how they construct an entirely different version of the world. In dreams, the mind becomes a master architect. It creates cities we've never visited, people we've never met, and situations that would be impossible in real life. It merges the past, present, and future into a single, shifting tapestry. Logic and linearity give way to symbolism and sensation. This is a place where fear might take the form of a dark forest, or joy might appear as flying through the sky. It's not just what we see in dreams, but how the world behaves, how it bends, folds, and reshapes itself around our unconscious thoughts. The dream world is not governed by physical laws, but by emotional truths. It is not built with concrete and steel, but with memory, emotion, imagination, and fragments of our deepest inner lives. And because of that, it offers us a unique mirror, a place where we can glimpse parts of ourselves that are often hidden when we're awake. In the journey ahead, we will explore this hidden dimension in 3 parts. First, we'll examine the strange logic, or lack thereof, that defines the dream world. Then, we'll look into how the subconscious mind becomes the architect of this internal universe. Finally, we'll ask what dreams can teach us about ourselves, and whether this other world might be just as meaningful as the one we wake up to each morning. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine, what kind of world will you enter tonight? The strange logic of dreams, when reality breaks its own rules. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night with fragments of a strange memory swirling in your mind. You were standing in your childhood home, but your parents looked younger than you remember. The living room was floating in the sky, yet you felt no fear. You tried to run, but your legs moved as if underwater. Then a stranger appeared, speaking a language you somehow understood. And then you woke up. This is the strange logic of dreams. In the dream world, logic doesn't work the way it does in waking life. The rules you trust, the stability of time, the consistency of space, the laws of gravity and cause and effect, are all bent, twisted, or completely ignored. You can walk through walls, jump from mountains and land unharmed, or talk to someone who passed away years ago. While awake, such things are impossible. But in dreams, they feel normal. Even the bizarre can feel perfectly acceptable, until you wake up and realize none of it made sense at all. But why is this? Why does the world of dreams operate under a different set of rules? To begin answering that question, we must first understand that the dreaming mind does not prioritize logic or realism. The dreaming mind is emotional, symbolic, and often nonlinear. It creates not based on what is possible, but based on what is felt. In waking life, we rely on conscious reasoning to navigate the world. We consider consequences, we follow routines, and we obey the laws of physics. But in dreams, we are driven by impulses, memories, unresolved emotions, and subconscious impressions. That's why in dreams, the impossible becomes common. You can shift locations without moving, be in 2 places at once, or become someone else entirely. Time can stretch into hours in what feels like seconds, Or you might wake up after what felt like a long journey, only to find you've slept just 10 minutes. People can transform in front of you. Your friend might suddenly become your teacher, or a stranger may speak with the voice of someone you love. These changes don't shock you while dreaming, because the logic of the dream is not the same as the logic of waking life. This strange dream logic is what psychologists and neuroscientists find so fascinating. It reflects how the brain functions differently during sleep. In REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreams occur, the brain is highly active, almost as much as when you are awake. But certain parts of the brain, particularly those responsible for critical thinking and rational analysis, are less active. That's why your mind doesn't challenge the strange things that happen. Instead, it accepts them. Even more interesting is how the dream world often carries symbolic meaning. That terrifying monster chasing you may not be a monster at all. It might represent your fear of failure, a broken relationship, or a childhood trauma. That endless hallway you can't seem to exit could reflect your frustration with a situation you can't escape. In this way, the dream world becomes a metaphorical space, where the world is shaped not by rules, but by meaning. Think of it like this. If waking life is governed by logic, then dreams are governed by emotion. Everything you experience in a dream is filtered through the lens of your internal world. That's why a dream can be so vivid, so emotionally charged, even if it doesn't make sense at all. What's more, the strangeness of the dream world is not a flaw. It's a feature. Dreams are not meant to follow the script of reality. They are meant to show us something beyond it, something deeper. In many ways, dreams are the brain's most creative expression. Unrestrained by physics or convention, the dream world allows your mind to explore possibilities, process feelings, and make connections that you would never make while awake. That's why artists, inventors, and thinkers throughout history have turned to their dreams for inspiration. The German chemist Friedrich Kekulé dreamed of a snake biting its own tail, and this led to his discovery of the ring shape of the benzene molecule. Paul McCartney reportedly dreamed the melody of Yesterday. Salvador Dali used to nap with a spoon in his hand, so the clatter of it dropping would wake him up just in time to catch the surreal images at the edge of dreaming. Why do dreams fuel creativity? Because they free us from the rules that normally confine us. They invite us to imagine not just what is, but what could be. In the dream world, the impossible is not only possible, it's normal. Of course, not all dreams are pleasant. Nightmares, too, are part of this strange logic. In nightmares, fear distorts the dream world just as easily as joy does. You might feel trapped, helpless, pursued, or out of control. These dreams, though frightening, often reflect our deepest anxieties, unspoken stress, hidden guilt, or unresolved trauma. And again, the world of the nightmare follows emotional rules, not rational ones. This is what makes the dream world so powerful. It's not just a fantasy land of randomness. It's a world that reflects you, in your rawest, most unfiltered form. The people, places, and events you encounter there may not make literal sense, but they carry psychological meaning. You are both the observer and the creator. You are the traveler and the architect. The strange logic of dreams is not random chaos. It is organized emotion, coded in symbols, expressed in a language beyond words. So the next time you wake up from a dream and think, "That made no sense," pause before dismissing it. Ask yourself instead, what was I feeling? What was my mind trying to show me in its own symbolic way? You may be surprised to discover that the strangest dreams often carry the most profound truths. As we move forward, we'll begin to unravel who exactly is behind this surreal creation. If the world of dreams behaves so differently, then who, or what, is orchestrating it all? The subconscious architect, how the mind constructs the dream world. When we sleep, our bodies rest, but the mind, in many ways, comes alive. Behind the strange and shifting landscapes of our dreams lies a powerful force, the subconscious mind. It is here, deep beneath our waking awareness, that the world of dreams is born. If part 1 explored what the dream world looks like, then now we must ask who creates it, and how. The subconscious mind is like a silent artist painting with memory, emotion, and imagination. It never sleeps, never turns off, and is always observing, recording, and responding to your daily experiences. During the day, your conscious mind takes the lead. You think logically, make decisions, analyze problems. But when you fall asleep, the conscious mind recedes, and the subconscious takes over. That's when the real magic begins. You might wonder, how can a part of the mind I don't even control create entire worlds? The answer lies in how your brain processes information. Every day, you are bombarded with stimuli, conversations, images, sounds, smells, feelings. Some of these you notice, most you do not. But your subconscious notices everything. It gathers data from every corner of your life, childhood memories, recent experiences, emotional reactions, even fleeting thoughts you barely acknowledged. And then, while you sleep, it uses these fragments to construct dreams. Think of your subconscious as a storyteller. But it doesn't use logic or grammar or structure like a novelist would. It tells stories in symbols, in metaphors, in emotional language. A locked door might represent a barrier in your real life. A storm might symbolize inner turmoil. Flying might reflect a longing for freedom or a moment of triumph. These symbols are deeply personal. What a river means in your dream might be entirely different from what it means in someone else's. Because the subconscious doesn't speak in universal code, it speaks your language. Neuroscience has shown us that different areas of the brain light up during REM sleep. The visual cortex becomes highly active, which explains the vivid imagery in dreams. The limbic system, the part of the brain that processes emotions, also becomes more active, especially the amygdala, which handles fear and desire. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for logic, planning, and decision-making, becomes less active. That's why dreams can be chaotic, nonlinear, and emotionally intense. The part of your brain that would normally fact-check your experiences is offline, and the subconscious is free to run wild. But don't mistake this for randomness. The subconscious has its own kind of intelligence. It often brings to the surface what you've ignored. If you've been stressed but haven't admitted it, you might dream of drowning or being chased. If you're excited but hiding it, your dream might show you soaring above the clouds. The subconscious is always trying to express what the conscious mind has suppressed, and it does so through the only medium it knows, dreams. This is why psychologists often encourage dream journaling. Writing down your dreams can help you spot patterns and themes. You might notice that certain people appear again and again, or that certain places reoccur in different forms. These are clues, signposts from your subconscious pointing towards something unresolved or deeply important. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, believed that dreams are a direct line to what he called the personal unconscious. He saw dreams not just as emotional residue, but as messages, communications from the deeper self. Jung even believed in a collective unconscious, a shared layer of symbols and archetypes passed down through humanity. This could explain why so many people, across cultures, dream of falling, flying, being chased, or standing on a stage unprepared. Some dream imagery may be wired into us, echoing ancient fears and desires. But even without diving into Jungian theory, there is little doubt that your subconscious mind is the architect of your dreams. And it is not simply throwing paint at the wall, it's saying something. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it screams. But always, it builds a world that reflects what's going on inside you, even if you don't fully understand it. Let's take an example. Imagine someone has just lost a job. They go to bed feeling anxious, maybe ashamed. They dream of being lost in a city they've never seen before. The streets twist and turn, and every time they think they've found a way out, the road ends. That dream is not about a city. It's about confusion, fear of the future, and the deep emotional need for direction. The subconscious takes the raw emotion, fear, uncertainty, and wraps it in images that match the feeling. It doesn't need to make literal sense. It needs to express the truth beneath the surface. This is the profound gift of the subconscious. It tells you the truth, even when you can't speak it. It reminds you of what matters. It challenges you to look within. Yet it's not only emotion that guides the dream world, it's also memory. The brain uses sleep, especially REM sleep, to process and consolidate memories. That's why you might dream about people you haven't seen in years, or places you haven't visited since childhood. These fragments of your past are stored in your subconscious, and when the dream world begins to form, it reaches into this memory bank to populate the landscape. A grocery store becomes your old school. A stranger looks exactly like someone from a childhood birthday party. The subconscious doesn't forget. It simply waits until sleep gives it the stage. And then there's imagination. In dreams, your imagination is limitless. The subconscious is not bound by what's real or practical. It can create new creatures, new cities, new dimensions. It can combine ideas in surreal, mind-bending ways. That's why the dream world can be both terrifying and beautiful, because it is the product of pure, uninhibited creation. In this way, your subconscious isn't just a mirror, it's a universe builder. So the next time you find yourself in a strange dream, don't brush it off as nonsense. Ask yourself, what part of me created this? What memory, emotion, or desire might this be expressing? You might find that your dream, no matter how strange, has something to tell you about who you are, what you fear, and what you truly long for. The mirror of the soul, what dreams reveal about who we are. We've journeyed through the surreal landscapes of dreams, and we've met the architect behind it all, our subconscious mind. Now, in this final part, we arrive at the deepest question of all. What do our dreams actually mean for us as human beings? Are they just flickering illusions? Or do they hold a mirror to something deeper, something essential? To answer that, we must first understand what it means for a dream to reflect the soul. The soul, as many traditions describe it, is the essence of who we are beyond the roles we play, the masks we wear, or the thoughts we think. It is the part of us that feels truth in silence, that aches for meaning, that recognizes beauty even when words fail. In the waking world, we often drown in distractions, routines, obligations, endless noise. But when we sleep, those distractions fall away. And in that quiet, our soul speaks. Dreams, in this sense, become the soul's language. Think about this. When you're awake, you edit yourself constantly. You choose your words carefully, suppress certain emotions, and try to meet the expectations of society. But in dreams, there is no need to perform. There's no audience to please. That's why your fears show up so nakedly. That's why your deepest desires appear without shame. In the dream world, you are raw. You are real. That's why dreams can be uncomfortable. They confront you with truths you'd rather avoid. You dream about the argument you're pretending didn't hurt. You see yourself lost in a job you secretly despise. You revisit a home you haven't thought about in years, only to wake up realizing that a part of you still lives there emotionally. These are not just scattered memories or surreal stories. They are messages. They are the soul pointing its finger at something within you and saying, "Look, this matters." And sometimes, dreams offer more than reflection. Sometimes, they offer healing. Consider someone who lost a loved one. In waking life, they may bury their grief beneath a brave face. But then, in a dream, that loved one appears. They speak. They smile. Perhaps they don't say much, but their presence feels profoundly comforting. The person wakes up with tears, not of pain, but of peace. How do we explain that? Was it just a memory replaying? Or was it something more, an emotional release, a moment of closure the soul couldn't find in the waking world? This is the kind of healing that dreams can bring, not through logic, but through presence, through the symbolic and emotional language that touches us deeper than words ever could. Dreams also invite us to grow. They challenge us. A recurring dream about falling might push you to examine where you feel out of control. A dream about being voiceless in a crowd might highlight a fear of being overlooked. These are not punishments. These are opportunities. The dream isn't judging you. It's showing you where your attention is needed. It's offering you a chance to awaken, not just from sleep, but to yourself. In ancient cultures, dreams were never taken lightly. The Greeks believed in temples of healing where dreams were analyzed for guidance. The Egyptians kept dream books filled with interpretations. Native traditions around the world have viewed dreams as spiritual messages, guiding personal and communal decisions. They knew something modern life often forgets, that dreams are sacred, that they deserve our attention. In modern psychology, especially in the works of Carl Jung and others, dreams are seen as a path toward individuation, the process of becoming your truest self. In that journey, the dream world is not a distraction, it's a compass. Even if we set aside spirituality or psychology, dreams still matter. Why? Because they remind us that we are more than we seem, that beneath our daily roles and surface thoughts, we are vast. We are emotional, imaginative, wounded, resilient beings. The dream world exposes that depth, not to confuse us, but to remind us. And perhaps this is why the dream world feels so strangely familiar, even though it follows no earthly rules. It's not outside of us, it's within us. It is made of us. It is not just a parallel world we visit while we sleep. It is a reflection of our inner landscape. And just as the waking world teaches us through challenges, relationships, and choices, the dream world teaches us through symbols, emotions, and mysteries. So, what is the world like in dreams? It is a world where time bends and space shifts, not to distort reality, but to express something deeper than reality, emotional truth. It is a place where your fears walk beside you in the form of storms or strangers, and your hopes lift you into flight. It is a canvas painted by your subconscious, a theater directed by your unspoken feelings. And more than anything, it is a mirror, one that shows not how the world looks, but who you are beneath the surface. The dream world is not an escape. It is an invitation to feel what you've ignored, to remember what you've forgotten, to face what you've been avoiding, to reclaim the parts of you that the world may have silenced. It is an invitation to wholeness. So tonight, when you lay your head on the pillow, know that you are about to enter a realm shaped not by laws, but by layers of memory, of feeling, of spirit. And when you wake up, before the rush of the day pulls you back into routine, pause. Ask yourself, what did my soul show me last night? Because in dreams, the world isn't just strange. It is sacred, beyond the veil. Are dreams a gateway to something greater? Up to this point, we've understood dreams as a mirror of the mind and soul, a landscape sculpted by memory, emotion, and imagination. But what if that's not the full picture? What if dreams are more than internal reflections? What if, in the silence of sleep, we touch something greater, something beyond ourselves? There's an ancient idea found across cultures and philosophies that dreams are not confined to the brain, but are windows into other dimensions of reality. Whether it's called the spirit world, the collective unconscious, the astral plane, or simply the beyond, this view suggests that dreaming is more than biology. It is a form of travel. Is that too far-fetched? Perhaps. But even modern science can't fully explain why we dream. We know the mechanics: REM sleep, brainwave activity, memory consolidation, but we still don't know why the dream state exists in such a vivid, immersive form. Why does the mind construct entire worlds? Why do those worlds sometimes show us things we could not know? People have dreamt of future events, sometimes with startling accuracy. Others have encountered loved ones who passed away, receiving comfort or even guidance that feels more real than imagination. Children have dreams filled with knowledge or wisdom they have no conscious access to. Creative geniuses like Beethoven, Nikola Tesla, and Salvador Dali credited dreams for breakthroughs that transformed the world. What explains these mysteries? Could it be that in dreams, our consciousness is no longer tethered to the limitations of time and space? Could the boundaries of the physical brain loosen during sleep, allowing awareness to drift, to access higher levels of intelligence, or tap into a universal mind? Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of symbols, instincts, and wisdom shared by all of humanity. He believed that archetypes, universal patterns like the hero, the mother, the shadow, emerge in dreams not from personal experience, but from something deeper and shared. In this way, your dream is not just your own. It is part of a larger tapestry. Mystics across traditions have echoed similar insights. In Buddhism, dreams can be a form of meditation, a glimpse into the illusion of waking life itself. In Sufism, dreams are seen as direct communication from the divine. In the Aboriginal traditions of Australia, the dream time is the foundation of all reality, an eternal spiritual realm where past, present, and future merge. To them, dreaming is not just a mental event. It is a sacred journey into truth. So what are we to make of this? We live in an age of rationality, of science and logic. But that does not mean we should dismiss the unknown. The dream world may not obey physical laws, but it has its own integrity. And many of us, if we're honest, have had moments in dreams that felt more real than waking life. Moments of insight, beauty, or fear that struck a chord too deep to ignore. Could those moments be glimpses through the veil? Could dreams offer us access to something timeless, to a field of consciousness that transcends the brain? We don't need to answer those questions with certainty, but we should ask them, because to wonder about the nature of dreams is to wonder about the nature of being. It is to ask, who am I really? Where do my thoughts come from? What lies beyond the world I can see? Dreams keep these questions alive. They remind us that reality is not fixed, that there may be more to existence than what our five senses can detect. They ask us to remain curious, humble, and open to mystery. They also invite us to listen. When we dream, especially deeply, we may hear a voice, not a literal voice, but an intuitive one, a sense, a knowing, that whispers truths the waking mind may resist. It might come in the form of an image, a symbol, or a subtle emotion. But if we listen closely, we'll notice it's guiding us, not with instructions, but with insight. It's nudging us toward alignment, with ourselves, with purpose, with meaning. This is the deeper gift of dreaming. It doesn't just show us what is broken. It shows us what is possible. In dreams, we create without limits. We fly without wings. We return to places we loved and meet those we thought were lost. We die and are reborn over and over again. We experience transformation. What if that's more than just a metaphor? What if every night, the dream world gives us a rehearsal, a trial run, for our spiritual evolution? A chance to confront fear, embrace love, and imagine new realities? What if dreaming is, quite literally, a doorway? Not just to healing or understanding, but to becoming whole. So tonight, as you close your eyes, don't think of sleep as escape. Think of it as a passage. And when the dream world rises to meet you, strange, beautiful, terrifying, don't turn away. Enter with wonder. Move with humility. Ask the questions no one else can answer for you. Because in dreams, you don't just see another world. You become the world. And maybe, just maybe, that world is a glimpse of who you were meant to be. Dreams as the wellspring of creativity and higher intelligence. As we've traveled through the mysterious landscapes of dreams, from inner reflections to metaphysical questions, we now arrive at one of their most profound offerings, creativity. It is here, perhaps more than anywhere else, that dreams reveal their astonishing power, not only to reflect our hidden selves, but to create from something seemingly beyond the self. Think about it. Every night, without effort, your mind generates entire worlds. Places you've never seen, people you've never met, languages you've never learned, all coming together in rich and detailed narratives. How is this possible? How does the dreaming mind produce such fluid originality, such wild invention? Because dreams are pure imagination unleashed. In our waking lives, creativity is often filtered, limited by logic, deadlines, judgment, and fear. But in dreams, those filters vanish. The ego steps aside. The critic grows silent. And suddenly, the mind becomes a fertile ground for boundless innovation. It is no coincidence that some of history's greatest breakthroughs, scientific, artistic, and philosophical, were born not in laboratories or studios, but in sleep. Take Dmitri Mendeleev, the Russian chemist who created the periodic table. He struggled for days to organize the chemical elements until he fell asleep at his desk. In his dream, he saw the elements falling into place in a pattern that made perfect sense. He woke up and wrote it down, and today, that dream-born structure is taught in classrooms across the globe. Or consider Paul McCartney, who one morning awoke with a complete melody in his head. He rushed to the piano to play it, not knowing if it was something he had heard before. It wasn't. It became the iconic song Yesterday. And then there's Mary Shelley, who dreamt of a pale student of unhallowed arts, kneeling beside a monstrous creation, an image that would become Frankenstein, one of the first and most enduring works of science fiction. These stories are not mere curiosities. They point to a universal truth. The dream world is a source of creative genius. Not because we try harder in sleep, but because we surrender. We let go. We stop thinking and start feeling, imagining, receiving. And in that surrender, inspiration flows. But dreams don't just offer finished ideas. They help us solve problems. The process is called dream incubation, the act of holding a question in your mind before sleep and allowing the dream to respond. Studies show that even complex dilemmas, emotional, relational, or intellectual, can be approached through this method. Why? Because dreaming taps into associative thinking. It sees connections where the waking mind sees walls. It rearranges elements in novel ways, giving birth to solutions that feel like revelations. In fact, some of the world's most successful minds have relied on dreams for guidance. Thomas Edison reportedly napped frequently to access half-conscious insights. Nikola Tesla visualized inventions in intricate detail during his dreamlike states. Even Einstein said his theory of relativity came from imagining himself riding on a beam of light, a daydream that bordered on the unconscious. And it's not just for geniuses. Anyone can access this inner well. Anyone can ask a question before bed and awaken to symbols, stories, or scenes that hint at the answer. You don't need to be an artist or scientist. You just need to be open. That openness becomes even more powerful through lucid dreaming, the ability to become aware while dreaming and consciously shape the dream. In this state, you are not just a passive observer. You become a co-creator. You can rehearse performances, confront fears, explore new ideas, or simply create beauty from nothing. Lucid dreaming is not fantasy, it is a skill. And like all skills, it can be developed with practice. Its potential goes far beyond entertainment. It allows you to directly interact with your subconscious, to step into your own inner universe and craft it with intention. Imagine sculpting a work of art with your thoughts, solving a business challenge with symbolic clues, or speaking directly with aspects of yourself that you never meet in waking life. But what makes all this possible? There is growing speculation that dreams are not only shaped by our personal memories and emotions, but are also connected to something far greater, a superconscious field that transcends individuality. Some call it universal mind, some call it spirit, others call it quantum consciousness. But the idea is the same, that during dreaming, we may temporarily access a greater intelligence, one that holds all possibilities and all patterns. This is not just mysticism. Quantum physicists, neuroscientists, and philosophers alike have begun to question the nature of consciousness. Where does it come from? Is it created by the brain, or does the brain receive it, like a radio receiving a signal? If the latter is true, then dreams might be the moments when our signal tunes into higher frequencies, frequencies filled with wisdom, clarity, and inspiration. This would explain why dreams often carry meaning beyond what we know, why they sometimes feel prophetic, why the symbols they present resonate so deeply, even when we cannot explain them, and why, in the deepest of dreams, we feel a sense of knowing that no words can describe. If so, then dreams are not just creative tools. They are gateways to the divine, to the infinite, to the creative essence of life itself. So how do we honor that gateway? By paying attention, by recording our dreams in a journal, by reflecting on them with curiosity instead of judgment, by asking questions and listening for symbols, by trusting that even the strangest dream might carry a seed of truth, and by creating space in our lives to dream, not just at night, but during the day too.